All right, ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year, Happy New Week. It's another beautiful moment that we are coming live from the Learned Corner with the Reality Kenya, of course, as usual. We are in a new year, we are in a new week, and of course a new month, the first month of the year. And the guest that we've always had on the show has amazing stuff for us this year and this week, and of course today on this episode. Our guest, as usual, is the Deputy Party Leader of Safina Party, Honorable Wakili Willis Otieno, Piki Ponki.
Kakamelo Disco.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you.
Yeah, you look fresh, man.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's fresh for a new year.
Yeah.
And now we have to start the conversation about the country.
Yes.
And you will notice that yesterday, the Ministry for Education released the results of KCSE, Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education. And those results, in my view, were shocking. To the extent that you notice that over 70%, in fact, 78% of the students scored below C+.
Yeah.
And what that means is that the failure rate was 78%. So they've said only those who got C+ and above, who constitute 22% of the candidates who started the exams, met the minimum entry requirement into university. Now, when we say that Kenya Kwanza has condemned the whole country into a failed state, the students whose grades have been graded to be below C+. Now, what happens to them? The Kenya government is advertising to the whole world that our students are incapable.
And they're the majority.
And they're the majority.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking of 78%.
Yeah.
Only 22% seem to have attained the pass mark.
Yeah.
So you're saying that that whole generation, that group that started the exams, they're all failures.
Yeah.
And this is quite unfortunate because then it's, to me, a condemnation of the education system, of the quality of education, the kind of education which the government took these students through.
Yeah.
And it is sad enough when you think of what it means to these students.
Yeah.
Because you are now, in a way, condemning an entire generation to a life of uncertainty.
Yeah.
You condemn them that they are not able to access tertiary education at the university level. You don't know how many of them will transit to TVETs and the other colleges.
Yeah.
And this is quite unfortunate because when you are living in a country where education acts as an equalizer and you condemn such a huge number of students to failed state, then those students lose an opportunity. That is why now you go to our market centers.
Yeah.
You find very many young men who the system has condemned.
Yeah.
The system is not creating any jobs for them. When they try their best to go to education, the results are moderated in a way that they end up being termed as people who have failed the exams.
Yeah.
And that is not the way that you can run a country when over 70% of your students are, by just virtue of sitting an exam, are condemned to be failures.
Yeah.
What happens to them in the future? Oh, you must appreciate also that in a country where majority are poor, education being an equalizer gives people an opportunity to improve their lot, to acquire new skill sets, and to bring out their talents and their knowledge, to be able to productively engage in the economy of a nation. In this particular instance, that lot of students has been condemned. What then is the future of this country? When we start condemning our young people to a what we call a failure state, without any explanation. And why this is worrying me is that if you look at some of the parents who are checking on the portal of BEC yesterday, they were still moderating the marks.
Even at the time,
I mean, some parents have shared, you were told the result is A minus, at some point it's a C plane.
After 2 hours.
Yeah, so the results kept oscillating between A's to C's, which is brings credibility questions on the results that were made as the students.
Sure.
And that to me is the hallmark of Kenya Kwanza. That is how they've run this country. That is how they've run this economy. In a way that is what I call the Piki Ponki state. That it is this or that, this or that.
So they just play with the numbers.
With the numbers, yes. And that is how they came into power also. Chebukati doing a piki ponki
Yes.
and giving us Kenya Kwanza
Where it lands.
where it lands, and that is now what we are condemned to live with.
Yeah.
On the economic front, the country doesn't look so good. The state of our economy is worrying. When Ruto last did his joint media interview, he did indicate that 70% of his revenue goes to debt finance.
Yeah.
And he's only left with 30%, of which 30%, he needs 35% to pay salaries.
And that is what you've been saying.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying.
Yeah.
He confirmed it.
Yes.
And in fact, we believe now that the number has gone up, the percentage has gone up. It may even be between 78 to 80% of revenue going to debt finance. Then you need another 30 shillings, 30%, to pay for government operations, buying fuel and paper, generally running the government machinery. And 15% minimum, that's 15 shillings for every 100, that needs to go to counties. That is not there.
Yes.
So they are forced to go back to borrow from either the domestic or international market. And that's what they've been doing. They are borrowing now illegally.
Yeah.
Now you've reached a point where even the market, if you look at the bonds issue that was made last week, the minimum bond was going for at 16% interest rate. That is to government.
The minimum.
Minimum.
Yes.
Bond was 16%. Now if government is borrowing money at 16%, what does it mean to you and I if we went to take a loan? It means that the base lending rate will be at 16%. Then now based on your credit assessment, you can easily be asked to pay 25% interest or 30% interest on a loan that you take. So you've ended up denying people an opportunity to access capital.
Yeah.
So access to finance is being restricted, and that is going to hamper any productivity or growth.
Yeah.
So in essence, the problems of this country today, I believe, is not a revenue problem. It is what we call a spending problem. Because how you expend the revenue collected determines if there's going to be a growth trajectory in the country. And so far, if 70% goes to debt, 30% goes to operations, 35% goes to salaries, and 15% goes to county. What money is left for development? There's none. So that is how an economy comes to a standstill. And also within the market, you notice Standard Chartered Bank late last year, they decided to offload almost 52% of their domestic bonds that they are holding. And why that to me was telling, and any keen observer of the economy, you will have paid attention to that decision, is that Standard Chartered Bank, together with Citibank, are the international loan arrangers for Kenya government. Now, if your loan arranger decides to offload his exposure to you, 52%, and they did that at a loss, they ended up incurring a loss of 2.5 billion. When a loan arranger, who is the one who is trying to help you get access to credit in the national market, decides to make a decision to offload his own exposure to yourself at 52%, 52% of its bonds, at a loss of 2.5 billion. That tells you there's something. It confirms to you that this person whom it is attempting to arrange a loan is a very high risk loan defaulter, and they are trying to reduce the exposure level. You know, in Ghana, Standard was badly exposed, and their bonds that they were holding, they took a very big hit
before Ghana defaulted.
So when Ghana defaulted, they really got a hit. And you will notice, in fact, in the short term, you're going to see other bondholders, large bondholders, government, banks, pension funds, SACCOs that are holding large bonds. They are going to be demanding that when their bonds mature, they will not ask for a reissue. They will just ask for the money to be paid. And now the central bank, for example, have enough reserves to pay for these maturing bonds. That is another problem. So that's why I say our problem is an expenditure problem, not a revenue problem. So Kenya Kwanza attempting to address an expenditure problem using revenue solutions, it will not work. So their revenue keeps going down anyway, because there's no much production taking place in the economy. If the economy is not producing, then even what you're collecting, by its nature, starts dwindling. starts reducing.
Because people don't have
People don't have the money. So what economic activity are they engaging in?
Yeah.
That you can say will provide an avenue for government to access taxes, levies or charges.
Yeah.
It's reducing by the day. And that is going to portend a very bleak economic outlook for the country in this coming year.
Yeah.
Also remember what I told you earlier, is that we have certain bonds maturing, especially the sovereign bonds this year, the Euro bonds being one of them, where Kenya government will be expected to pay, I think, around 300 billion bullet payment at once. That's a principal payment. Where are they going to get the money to pay off for this bond?
Yes.
There was an attempt sometimes back that they told us that they are going to get money from IMF to pay off this. Then another point, they say they are going to negotiate for rescheduling of that debt, or reissuing, or to get somebody refinancing of that debt. Get another group to refinance it.
Yes.
I noticed in December that issue of refinancing had not come through. And Ruto had promised Kenyans that by 30th of December, he was going to make part payment of that bond. That never happened. So the part payment was not, advance payment was not made. The refinancing did not work. The IMF money did not come. So you are staring at a monster.
What options do we have
So
at this moment?
the options are narrowing by the day.
Yes.
Because remember, it's in June.
Yes.
It's due in June 24th.
Yeah.
So it's coming. So we are just kicking the can down the alleyway. But as sure as tomorrow follows today, if they don't find a solution in the interim, then rest assured that that will be the first default. But that is long term, that is 6 months' time. But in 3 months' time, we also have the maturing short-term bonds that have been issued in the domestic market. I want to see where they'll get money to pay those maturing bonds, especially if the large bondholders refuse or don't accept a refinancing of reissuing of the bonds. So that also may be a chance of default to the Kenya government. Unless they pay the bonds, then they don't pay salaries, or they pay salaries and don't pay the bonds. That becomes a default. So economically, we are not in a good space. And Kenya Kwanza economic policies have led us to this. The G2G oil is now exposed to serious forex issues, because remember, we are paying for 6 months oil today. Oil that was bought 6 months ago is being paid for today. At the time when it was being bought, maybe the Kenya shilling or the dollar was retailing at 140. Now it's 160. Now, with that exchange rate, who is going to absorb the forex losses, the fluctuation of the foreign exchange? Is it KCB Bank? Is it Kenya government that will have to look for the money to pay for that? So you are seeing so many balls are dangling in the air. And if it is KCB that is left to bear that loss, then I can assure you that KCB Bank even itself at some point will snap. They will not be able to absorb the pressure of carrying that foreign forex loss that they are being exposed to in this G2G oil saga. And those were the fundamental foundations of Kenya Kwanza. Those were the economic blueprints that were meant to transform this economy. The economy has not transformed. The economy is actually dying.
You said that the economy is worse than it was 10 years
10 years ago. It is very much worse than it was. Another thing that also, those are pointers that I say, people were things that we look out for. The members of parliament have not been given CDF. And as the last time in December, early December, they had actually threatened to go on strike and not to go on recess unless they receive their disbursement. You notice that in December, not many members of parliament were active. They were not distributing bursary, so they don't have money. And kids reported to school yesterday, and most of these kids have not been able to afford or to access bursary funds for their education. And the MPs don't have the disbursements. In fact, they'll be lucky if they get the next disbursement in March. They'll be very lucky.
By March?
I'm talking of March, yes. Because I'm not seeing them getting that disbursement this month.
Very soon.
I'm not seeing it in light of the economic outlook. So if they get in much, maybe they'll be lucky. But also, they may not even get all of it. They may just get partial disbursement.
Like it was done to the counties.
Yes. So now we are moving to CDF and GAF, also likely to suffer that fate. And that tells you that even within the rubric of those who are still going to school, and the parents are not able to afford, many students rely on CDF bursary funds for their education. If that disbursement is not done in time, then you have a high risk of students missing out or falling out of school. So again, you're just increasing the population of young people who have been denied an opportunity by a political system that is very vicious to poor people. And I always say that Kenya Kwanza has an innate hatred for poor people. That is why the economic policies is causing so much pain to poor people than it even causes to the ruling class. But of course, it will catch up with the ruling class at some point. Because don't think that the poor will suffer while you continue to enjoy. These economic policies are bad for the country, and they are leading us to where we are today. And the country is now tinkering on the brink of economic collapse. And we've said that in this learned corner, and we keep saying it, that we are in a very precarious situation. Look even at across the country, which major project can you say this government has undertaken?
Actually none, because even if you look at the executive, some of the CS and even the MPs or senators aligned to the government, even sometimes when they're on ground, a lot of videos surface when people boo them, people don't want to listen to them. What does this really mean? Because
it means that there's a disconnect between...
Even those who are in government, even in their own strong...
Yes, it means there's a disconnect. Because when government is not delivering on the economic promise to the people, then what is the value of that government to yourself? Because all that the Kenyan man is facing is more pain every day. And if they're facing more pain, what are the government interventions that are meant to ease that pain? And why is not forthcoming? Why are they not feeling a transformation in their lives, in their conditions of lives? It is actually getting worse by the day than it was yesterday. So every day, we have what we call a promise of pain. And that promise of pain is premised on the failed economic policies of this regime. And we don't know how long the Kenyan people will take it. Because at some point, something will have to give. It's either we'll surrender to our fate, or the Kenyan people will exercise their sovereign right, because the ultimate sovereign power vests in the people of Kenya. And then it is donated to those who are elected to certain offices or appointed certain offices to exercise that sovereignty on their behalf and for their benefit. Kenya Kwanza is not exercising the sovereignty of the people of Kenya for the benefit of the people of Kenya. This excess of sovereignty is now only benefiting a select few in the ruling class. And we cannot have a system where only a few people are benefiting. And the bulk majority of the people are suffering and continue to suffer. That will not suffice. And the Kenyan people will need to have a conversation with this ruling class if this is what we signed up for. And in so having that conversation, we have options. And the options may even include demanding of them to vacate office and allow the Kenyan people to elect an executive that is responsive to their needs. And part of that executive demand will be that we cannot have a system that spends 70% of our money on debt. Debt which no one even knows. The controller of budget has said they don't even know the debt register. They can't tell how much has been paid and how much is yet to be paid. So it's a sinkhole. And that sinkhole cannot be the promise of our future. The promise of our future is a promise that the state, the nation, and the government must work towards the economic well-being of the people. We are now in the middle of what I term, and my party leader Jamie Wanjigi terms, an economic revolution. We must liberate our people from these economic challenges that Kenya Kwanza and partly Jubilee have led us into. We must now have a conversation that seeks to empower the Kenyan man economically. The economic rights in our constitution were not meant to be futuristic.
Yeah.
They are meant to be actualized at this point.
At this point.
And if it is not working for us now, we are not going to say we'll suffer today so that in 50 years' time, our great-grandchildren will enjoy. No. It must make sense to us now. Make it make sense to us now. And if it's making sense to us now, then we are guaranteed that in 50 years' time, our great-grandchildren will also enjoy that economic promise.
Yeah.
As it is now, it is not. One final thing that I wish to talk about is on the issue of the threats to the judiciary.
Yeah.
You know, this country is premised on the rule of law. And the rule of law is to the extent that everybody, including the president, who is in office by virtue of the law, must live by the dictates of the law. And it's an accepted principle that anybody who has a dispute has to refer it to the courts.
Yeah.
And the courts can decide for or against you.
Yes.
That is why we practice law. And if the court decides a matter to your disadvantage, you have recourse to an appellate process. And if that decision was informed by an act of bribery, then you have a recourse to the Judicial Service Commission to bring out the evidence against that particular judicial officer and take them through a tribunal. Let it be exposed that this judge was paid this much to influence a certain decision.
Yeah.
But to just make a political statement on a platform without any evidence, that is what they're trying to, what we call mob lynching. You cannot mob lynch an entire institution just because a decision was made that you don't agree with. Because remember also those courts, at first instance, Ruto was charged with the offense of attempting to grab Kenya Pipeline land. And the courts took him through a judicial process and he was acquitted. Subsequently, he was charged before the ICC for crimes against humanity. He went through the judicial process and was discharged. After that, we saw their first election in 2013. The courts are the ones who upheld their victory. The same courts upheld their victory in 2017 too, petition 2, the second petition. And the same courts even 2022 are the ones who upheld his victory. Does it mean that even him, by innuendo, he's inferring that he bribed the judges in all those cases that he was doing to procure those decisions? I don't think that is the position. But if it is the position, then he should bring the evidence of how he has been able to influence the judiciary and the specific judicial officers who handle these matters.
Because that is what he's trying to...
That is what he's trying to say. But to just issue a blanket condemnation that the judiciary is corrupt without naming which judge, without naming which case the judge took a bribe, then we cannot, that is scapegoating. And Kenya Kwanza is always looking for a new enemy every day. So this year they started with the judiciary as the number one enemy. And then I've seen some of them also blaming my party leader, Jimmy Wanjigi, as now the new enemy for exposing their failures. But it tells you those are the kicks of a dying horse. They'll always look for plausible excuses to try to explain their inertia and failures. But it will not stick. The ultimate thing is that the elephant in the room is that our country has an expenditure problem. It's not a revenue problem. And the sooner Kenya Kwanza addresses that problem, the better for the country. And if they don't, they will have a conversation with the people of Kenya. We will call for that people-government dialogue. And that dialogue can be held anywhere. It can be on the streets, can be on the boardroom, can be in their offices. We'll want to know what is the intention with our lives. If the intention is to finish all of us, then we'll make a decision as a people. If that is what we want for ourselves. If not, then we can ask them to vacate office. And then we install a regime that is responsive to the people. A people-centric regime. Yes.
Talk to Team Piki Piki Ponki as we start the new year.
Team Piki Piki Ponki, we keep it well. We are doing well so far. I like the energy. We are going to apply that energy into this new year. We are going to discuss all the issues that happen in this country, and we are going to put this Kenya Kwanza administration to task. We must expose them in all that they do. We must demand of them to implement policies that are meant to better the lives of the people of Kenya. This economic pain is not our bane. This economic pain cannot be what was promised of us. And it is in our interest that a government that does not deliver on the economic promise to the people of Kenya, then the people have an option under Article 1 to exercise directly their sovereignty to determine the future of the nation. And that future of the nation cannot be what has been served on us in the last 15 months. Team Piki Piki Ponki, we are the team of the truth, and we are the team that will keep them to account. And ultimately, we are the team that is going to liberate this country from the economic malaise that Kenya Kwanza and Jubilee have brought us into. Thank you very much, Team Piki Piki Ponki. We keep strong.
Wow. Thank you so much, each and everyone who has been watching. Thank you so much, Naibu, for that strong start of the year. It's amazing, and we hope that 2024 becomes great and a blessing to all the Team Piki Piki Ponki who have been here, who are still coming in, and who will be here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and have a blessed day. My name is Simi Kenya. Bye-bye.